I hope it doesn't hurt. Or if it does, that it hurts like growing. Like bones remembering they were once soft enough to be anything. I hope it makes sense eventually. Not now. Not in the breaking. Not in the sharp language of absence. But later. When time has sanded down the edges of us into something almost understandable. I hope the person you become without me recognizes the echoes. Not as ghosts, but as architecture. Because we built something, even if it could not stand. There are versions of you I still carry. Unfinished drafts of a future I was never meant to read. In them, you are lighter, not happier. No, not that simple, but unburdened by the gravity of my presence. You move differently there, like someone who has stopped apologizing for taking up space. And I wonder, was I the weight? Or just the mirror you learn to blame for it? I hope you become everything you said I stopped you from being. Not out of guilt, but because the sentence deserves an ending that is not me. Become it loudly. Become it without hesitation. Become it in ways that make my absence feel necessary. Because if I was the obstacle, then let my leaving be the first open door. There were mountains in your voice. Did you know that? Entire ranges hidden in the way you spoke about someday. You made the future sound climbable. And somehow, somewhere, I became the altitude you struggled to breathe in. Not the peak, not the view, just the thin air that made you question if reaching anything was worth the cost. I never meant to be that. But meaning is a fragile defense against impact. I hope you climb now. I hope the mountains no longer wear my name. I hope the path doesn't feel like betrayal with every step upward. I hope when you reach the top, you don't look back and see me as the valley you had to escape. I hope I'm smaller than that. Just a moment of weather. Just a season you had to learn to outgrow. My love for you, it was not quiet. It was not careful. It was a sentence that kept writing itself, mid-breath. Too long, too complicated, too full of clauses that never quite resolved. And in the end, I had to abort it. Not because it wasn't real, but because it wouldn't survive the way we were living it. Because some words refuse to become language. They stay feeling raw and untranslatable until silence is the only honest grammar left. Do you remember how we used to speak in almost? Almost forever, almost enough, almost okay. We built a home out of almost. Walls that leaned, ceilings that questioned themselves, doors that never fully closed. And we lived there like it was an apartment. I hope you find something that isn't almost. Something that doesn't require translation to feel true. There are nights where I replay you. Not the real you, but the version I understood at the time. Because understanding is not static. It shifts, rearranges, betrays its former self. And I am left holding meanings that no longer belong to anything alive. If I held you back, I need you to outgrow me completely. Not halfway, not with hesitation. I need you to become so undeniably yourself that there is no room left to wonder what we could have been. Because that question, it lingers, it rots, it turns memory into something heavier than truth. I don't want to be the unfinished version of your life. I want to be the necessary one. The chapter that feels incomplete until you realize it was never meant to resolve. There's a strange mercy in endings that feel premature. They force the future to exist without permission. I hope you stop seeing me in the things you love. I hope my shadow doesn't stretch into your new beginnings. I hope laughter returns to you without reference. I hope joy is not something you have to compare. And yet, selfishly, I hope there is one small corner of your becoming where I still exist. Not as a regret, not as weight, but as a quiet origin. A starting point you no longer need, but cannot entirely erase. Because I will carry you, not as you were, but as you were with me, which is not the same thing, which is a different person entirely. There are things we only are in certain company. And those variations do not survive the leaving. They collapse the moment they are no longer witnessed. So somewhere in the space between us, there is a person who only existed when we were both there. And they are gone now. I grieve them more than I grieve you. I hope it makes sense one day. Not as a story with clean edges, but as a feeling you can sit with without needing to fix it. I hope you forgive me for the ways I was not enough. And I hope quietly that you forgive yourself for needing me to be more than I could. We were not wrong, just unfinished, incompatible directions. So go. Become the version of yourself that doesn't hesitate when asked who you are. Become the person who doesn't shrink to fit inside someone else's fear. Become everything you once placed on the other side of me. And if, in some distant, softer future, our paths cross again, I hope we do not recognize what we lost as failure. I hope we see it as transformation, as something that had to end in order to become everything. I hope it doesn't hurt. But if it does, I hope it teaches you how to hold yourself without needing to be held back. Because the truth is, I never wanted you to stop you. I just didn't know how to love you without losing the shape of myself. And somewhere in that confusion, we mistook constraint for care. And now, there is nothing left between us but distance and possibility. So take it. Take all of it. Every open space my absence created. Fill it with the person you were always trying to become. And let me be. Not the thing that stopped you, but the thing you moved beyond.